This step is attaching a scope rail. So this is an AK-74 receiver, and there's a couple different options you can get. I like to get my scope rails from Tantal. If you're on any of the boards, you can find out pretty easily. So this one is a standard AK-74 rail, or actually a newer one. This is an older style. The most important part about picking these out is to make sure that you actually get the correct rail. If you're attaching a rail to a 74, the rivets are wider between here on a 74. On the AKM pattern, it's a little bit shorter in between the rivets, so the rail is actually a little longer. So just make sure you get the right rail. And the easiest way to attach this is to go ahead and put the rivet in place. By the way, this is one of the AK builder rivets. It's a little longer. It actually helps for getting past this wide trunnion. If you're building a side folder, it doesn't matter. You can use these supplied rivets that come with the rails. I'm going to notice one of them is longer, but this one's a lot longer, and it helps. This is the AK-74 rear trunnion is very thick. You want to start off with this empty. This is actually the hole for the rear trunnion. If yours is already riveted, you're going to need to drill it out. If you're just building one, then don't rivet that one until you put the rail on. It's very important. And you notice that sticks up? Not very much at all. To make the scope rail parallel with the top rail of the receiver, what you're going to want to do is get a piece of bar stock, just some flat steel stock, and stick it inside the receiver shell so that the receiver doesn't have to clear the rails on the inside. And then clamp it in place. To measure the rail is to make sure it's parallel with the top of the receiver. What you want to do is take your calipers. If you don't have a set, you should get it for doing this. Take a pair of calipers and use the depth stop on it, and basically set the back so it's just take a measurement out the back here because it's almost in a fixed position. With the rivet holding it in place, and then after you have the measurement set here, lock the caliper, then move it up to the front, and then just raise it up to where, or raise it or lower it so that it matches the stop there to make sure you have no gap. Make sure you're holding it perfectly level on the side of the receiver, and then clamp it in place, and just basically check it. Just keep checking in all points on the rail, and you should be ready to go. The next step is to drill holes. It's a 5/32 bit. Slowest speed you can go on, it usually helps for us. Just good. And drill the middle hole. One drilled scope rail. So one last step prior to riveting. I touched on this earlier, but this is an AK Builder rivet right here. And these are the 3 rivets that came with the Tantal set. These are actually Russian rivets from the Chef's Arsenal, according to Tantal. I have no way of verifying that. The one from AK Builder came with some extra length, which is actually pretty nice for this big thick Bulgarian Rivetronian here, because it's got to go through that guy and then all the way through the rail. This one doesn't quite make it, so I usually just toss it aside, and so I'm left with these 3 rivets in the rail. And the way I like to put these in is this is a matter of personal preference. There may be more correct ways to do this. I've seen some factory rifles that have the front rivet in place like this. I don't like that. It just personal preference, really. So the way I do this is I take this extra long rivet, I put it through this way. I take the middle rivet, put it through the top, like so. And then I take the front rivet, I put it in through the bottom as well. So there's one last thing to take note of, and that's that the height of this rivet and the height of this rivet are slightly different. This rivet's going upside down, so it doesn't matter. We're just going to rivet this normally like a trunnion rivet. But I made a special tool, which I'll touch on later, to handle these two. All I do, I don't use anything special. No lathe required. I just file this down and use a micrometer. This is going to fall out here. What I do is I measure one, I measure the shorter one, and then I use a micrometer to match. So, not critical. If you're within a couple thousandths, or even 10 thousandths, you're probably okay. The idea is so that these 2 heads smash about the same size.